also at Kansas State. The next one is the first of the demolition items. This one is Weber Hall, partial of Weber Hall, the competition arena and the building demolition, I'm sorry, and the classroom. And there'd be an allocation from the demolition fund for that. I do have a comment. We did talk about the agenda call. This is one, of course, we need to be sensitive to how, if this is approved as we're expecting, sensitive the way we approach this and roll it out with the history of the building. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, great. All right. Are we on the distribution of that? No, thank you, sir. Okay. All right, and then item 5, the various structures, that's the one we had the follow-up item on. So did you have something you wanted to show us on that, Ethan, or? I
believe Chad in the updated issue paper did
Yes.
denote the buildings that were slated. So kind of on the graphic kind of indicated which of
Right.
those buildings
Okay.
were to be demolished.
Yeah.
with this
All right,
request.
yeah, I saw that, but I didn't know if you had anything more you wanted to say about that. Okay, all right, okay, thank you. And then there's the lease with the foundation for Kansas State. Again, any questions? And then the last of the projects, I think, yes, is the Wichita State Stadium that we actually talked about in a fair amount of detail at the on the agenda call. Any questions on that one? No, okay. All right, then we start with the approval of the distributions on page 29. It's broken into 2 parts because one of them was prescribed by the legislature. So we're of course going to do that one that way. So I presume there's not really any questions about that. And then part 2 are combinations of things that have either already been approved by TEA or consistent with past practices. So I personally am comfortable with them. But if there's anything anybody wants to talk about, we of course can do that. Nope. Okay. Well, anything you want to say about that? Any of those?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, the question on several of these items are, as they are brand new, is how they will be treated for our fiscal year 2025 budget and whether they will be considered part of our base going forward, or whether they'll just be considered one-time items and removed from our base. So we are awaiting word for that. I understand that'll come to us in early July.
Okay. All right. Okay, then item 9 on page 37 then is the capital renewal initiative and the distribution of the funds from that. This is like I mentioned a moment ago. This is pretty much the way we've done it. It's based on a square footage allocation. Okay, page 38 is item number 10. This is the distribution of the money we received from the playbooks. Our recommendation is based on the way we submitted our original budget recommendation to the legislature. So one person's opinion seems pretty straightforward to do it that way formally. Okay, and then that takes us to this section, item 11 on page 39, which are remember in the rhythm of our calendar, this meeting, we get some initial information about the budget proposals. We really don't intend to go into this in a lot of detail because it will be a big subject of one of our big subjects of the retreat or the offsite, formerly known as the budget workshop. So we'll do all this in more detail there. And we're actually going to broaden that discussion per our conversation a couple of meetings ago to also include views of tuition and the elasticity of those and other productivity initiatives and so forth that the CFOs volunteered to do. I'll say every time this comes up, so nobody forgets that y'all volunteered. So again, we don't really anything planned here unless there's a question. Oh, did I miss something?
No. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to comment that in front of you is a substitute page for page 40 that has an additional item noted next to the KU Medical Center. It was omitted when we prepared the issue paper from the emails communication. So just want to note, there is a $75 million item to construct the cancer research facility that would be matching the private gifts that they are working to gather. So want to get that on your radar.
Great. And of course, we're very supportive of that project. So I'm smiling when I say it's just for fun. You just say play on the same play as the winning game last year, put your stuff in at the meeting or. I was teasing, just, no response necessary. No response necessary. I was proud of how dynamically we adjusted last fall, so. Okay, then we have a series of memorandums that Elaine is going to take us through. You're gonna do a touch pass?
I'm hoping there's someone here from legal. I don't see anyone here from legal. So I will do my best, and I hope that the CFOs from the campuses affected are also on board. So the first one starts on page 44 for Pittsburgh State University. And just as a preface, these items are as state universities, we are governed by the PIRA Act, which is a state law that governs public entities and how they do negotiating, meet and confer with their bargaining units. And so Pittsburgh State has reached a one-year MOA with the coming year, and there are several items, and they are noted for you on page 45 and 46. I'm assuming that a lot of this is governed by the new pay plan that we're affected by, and so we're updating for that. And this will be for the coming fiscal year.
Aptly done. Aptly done that. Yes, okay. Okay, all right.
And Kansas State University also has an MOA up for amendments that they've negotiated. And I would also want to point out President Flanders and our General Counsel Yeri are also involved in this process also. So it isn't just the campus. We have board office involvement with this. And again, updating the MOA with the campus unit to acknowledge the pay plan. And I believe there are some changes related to performance evaluations. Is that correct, Ethan? Sorry.
No changes to the existing structure of the performance evaluations, just an agreement that we would jointly work together to better understand how ratings are assigned between supervisors and employees so that there's better communication overall between both parties.
Well, I'm certainly supportive of the idea of differentiating by performance, so
Mhm.
glad you're doing that.
Yep.
All right, and then the next one starts on page 51. This is for Fort Hays State with the AAUP that represents their faculty. And the changes are summarized there on the bottom of page 51. I believe we did not have this in the original agenda, but there was a timing delay with our colleagues from Fort Hays journey across the globe to China. So very few changes here. I think adopting the coming merit pool for salary adjustments.
Anything? Okay, well, that gets us through the consent agenda then. Last chance for questions. Okay, so then we move to the discussion agenda. Our items start on
116.
116. Yeah, I'm almost there. And that is the tuition proposals. And again, we of course know the tremendous importance of this item. But I also think we should recognize as we go through this, the deep details we went through last time, the agenda call, the impressive packet we have, the details we went through last time, then at the board meeting, and then our agenda call the other day. So again, I don't think we need to go through individual presentations again. Just take a moment and and to see if there's questions for any of the institutions from us. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My apologies for my tardiness. I'm curious about whether any of you at the universities or any of us or our staff has received any input on these proposals. Anybody say, gee whiz, great idea? Did anybody say that you know of that this kind of increase is too high? Just wondering what feedback we've received from the general public, from students, from parents, if at all.
Since the last meeting,
Yeah, correct.
not the things they've reviewed with us last time, but they'd already.
Correct. Yeah. Since the last meeting we had, what, if any, feedback have we received out there? The answer may be none.
I'll start. At the medical center, the feedback I have received, which has been pretty light, so it's a small number of samples actually, but has been generally from students who say things like, we don't want to pay more money, obviously. It's difficult and it's, we'd rather not have to pay more money, but we understand and we are grateful that we have not had increases in recent years. I think we're 4 or 5 years running now. And so it is not an enthusiastic, thank you very much for increasing our costs, but rather we get it, we understand it, we don't really like it, but it's okay. That's been how I would roughly characterize the sort of feedback I have heard.
Thank you.
It's
Answer your question.
the other with the red light.
Sorry.
There.
Just to answer your question, generally supportive and is necessary for the financial health of KU. We did a campus-wide message and the feedback has been, I get why we're doing this. So that's been the feedback I've received over since the last meeting.
So for K-State, I don't know if it's just nobody ever wants to talk to me, but actually I've not received any negative feedback. We did do a very broad conversation with our students when we were setting this, and also with our faculty senate about what we're doing with the dollars and how we're investing back into the institution. So I've not received any direct feedback to me about the tuition rate increase.
Thank you.
Much like Ethan, people probably don't want to speak to me either. But actually,
Well, we love you all.
we were needing that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
That's why I asked. I wanted you to know that we love you.
No, but I've not received direct feedback, but I've heard from various people on campus that students understand the need for the increase. We've explained it, same with faculty and staff and our public, what the money is going to be used for. And certainly people have experienced inflation in their own lives. And so I just turned around and asked our students as well that are here, and it's been pretty much the same that students understand, and it's been pretty quiet.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd say the same song, the next verse. We've not gotten any differing feedback from what you heard from our students when they were here with me and with President last meeting. In fact, I think they shared that they even recommended a higher percentage understanding what we were up against. But we settled where we did and haven't had any other disparaging or encouraging feedback.
Yeah, it's the same. You're going to hear the same story from Fort Hays State. Very little feedback have I received directly. What I do hear is, what comes from me indirectly, which, oh, look at that comes off indirectly. And that has been all supportive from our faculty, staff, students. It's, they get it, they understand, and I have not heard complaints or people worried about it. So, yep.
One more of the same story, feedback from really across campus from several of the constituent groups and a consistent feedback that it seemed reasonable and appropriate based on their understanding of history and the current conditions and other reference points that they have. So very supportive comments from a variety of directions.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking us through that, Regent Winter.
Well, I just wanted, I just thought that since particularly since we have not had a tuition increase of this magnitude for some time. And the news got out at least 30 days ago. I think it's important that we make sure that students and the public know that we're attuned to what they're saying and what they're thinking, and you all are on the front lines. So it's certainly good to hear that. And I'm sure that you've done a good job in explaining the needs and the uses of those funds. So I'm reassured by the news that there hasn't been anything other than apparently acceptance. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but glad we did this. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? All right, okay, thank you very much. Then that takes us to item 2 in the discussion agenda, page 118. That's the additional housing rates for the University of Kansas. Again, we discussed this some on our agenda call. Do you have anything you want to say?
Just a high level summary. We are looking to gain about 200 spaces by moving some of our units to triples, and so the rate would be lower. So we're asking approval of that rate. And then where we're leasing spaces that we may need, we are also in the document saying which housing rates we're going to be using. So it gives clear indication to the rates we're going to pay. So we're just looking for really an additional new triple rate that we'd be having, which would be lower per student, but obviously be 3 rather than 2 people. So that's what we're asking for approval.
Okay, and of course, we had a little bit of, or not a little, we had some conversation at the last meeting about how you're compartmentalizing the risk associated with the new space. So we think that's appropriate. Yes, sir.
Is this just the conversion of 2-person to 3-person?
Yes, it's the new rate. We don't have a 3-person rate. So it's a new rate for that. And it's also, if we're leasing spaces nearby, it tells you what rate we would charge the students for those spaces if we use it.
I think maybe that's that second part, because I was under the understanding that there was an effort to attempt to lease additional rooms from the private sector.
Right.
And would those all be the same designed for 2, converted to 3?
No, these would be whatever they are. We'd only be converting our own. This was if we lease a 2-unit space in the private sector, they'd have residence hall support services, and they would pay those rates of equivalent residence hall is what that relates to. We wouldn't be converting any private sector things. It'd be only our own 2 halls that are listed in the rate, right under the rate, a list of 2 halls we're going to be converting.
So we're taking some of your existing units that are 2-person units and converting those to 3, right?
Yes, we'll pick up about 200 spaces doing that, and then we'll be looking for about 300 spaces.
An additional 300 spaces by leasing from the private sector.
Yes, so it's 500 spaces we're picking
Got
up,
it. Thank
200 from
you.
conversion, 300 from leases.
Got it. I do have one more question. Is there any significant risk that you're going to add these 500, but turn out not to use some of them or a decent amount of them? Or are you, on the other hand, relatively confident that you had 3?
We're relatively
500.
confident if we convert more, we would. So it's a matter of having enough spaces. So no, I'm not concerned about that. We have the financial ability and housing to do it, and we're comfortable that it will work out.
Thank you.
Cover it.
And you structured the agreements to be able to do some of that, as I recall from our last discussion.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, anything else? Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so that's our agenda item. So we are in the unprecedented space of Chad having time to talk about what he plans to talk about. I'm sorry, Director Briscoe.
Thank you, Chair Ice. Yeah, so it's been a little while since we've had a formal up.
The red light.
This,
There you go.
extra microphones up here. All right, does that work? Okay, thank you. So we are nearing the end of our first official year of the board's facilities renewal initiative. Seems interesting to say that, given all the work that everybody's put in for the years leading up to this point, and doing the initial studies, laying in the groundwork of new data systems, advocating for funding. But with the addition of state appropriations for fiscal year 23 and the university match that required and demolition funds, there's been a higher volume of projects this past year, and a lot of work has been accomplished and a lot of work yet to accomplish. But I think it's a good opportunity to kind of look back and acknowledge some of that success that's happened already and acknowledge all the work that's required of all the people who play a part in this. So, I can certainly go down through the list and,
Well, I think we'll probably do that twice because I want to do some of that too, but you go ahead. I don't think we can say thank you and celebrate too many times.
yeah, definitely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And, I think at just a high level, the university facilities teams, the planning teams, the maintenance and operations teams, and all of the host of participants on the university campuses have contributed to planning and executing projects. Of course, summer is a great opportunity to get a lot of work done. So might be premature to celebrate successes right now in the kind of high season of getting a lot of work done. But at a distance from the campuses here, I mean, I think you can definitely see that progress. And so I want to thank all those people who are handling a higher volume of work and collaborating with architects and engineers and other technical and creative professionals who are planning that work with them. I mean, it's very much a collaborative effort with the AEC enterprise and, the contractors, construction managers, the trades teams, all of these people are contributing to the success of this initiative. And it takes a lot of extra effort to handle more projects, especially at this time when everybody's busy. There's labor shortages. There's all sorts of other challenges that layer into this. So it's even more remarkable that the progress that's being made has been made. Certainly, there's other agencies, that we owe a debt of gratitude for partnering in this effort. Region ICE, I don't know if you wanted to cover that. Department of Administration and the legislature and the governor. I mean, they've been instrumental. And then I might just go into the weeds really quickly here and
Feel free.
just one thing that we've talked a lot about and this led up to the policy changes that the board approved in June 21. So that's been a little while ago, but one of the perspectives is that we need more data to make actionable and strategic choices about. And that's we had early success. You do some studies, you subscribe to a new data system, and you get some early progress by seeing, oh, here's a new system, we're putting our data in it. But it takes a lot of extra effort year over year to do that. So I just want to acknowledge all the people that are maintaining that data, helping to mature how that framework supports good decision making. Had a lot of work on that and continue to have work on that. This project, I'll call it a project, the board's initiative. We are ramping up over several years to a 2% annual investment of replacement value of the mission critical portfolio. That's a work in progress. We're about ready to go to year 2. So what we've got ahead of us this summer is a kind of a first of looking at the expenditures. How did we perform this year? Tracking the data for the matching requirements, looking ahead now. We're looking back and ahead at the same time. We're planning for the next year. So the universities have prioritized lists of what that year 2 of the maintenance assessment looks like. So all these wheels are turning at the same time. And I think we'll have a good opportunity this summer to kind of take a breath, kind of see how it all stacks up, maybe get some ideas for improvements for the next year. And then looking out ahead, we'll have our second annual university facilities report, and that'll be another opportunity to formalize how that looks and try to boil it down into some, compelling and consumable high points. And so we're all working towards that and trying to collaborate to make this as smooth as possible. But again, it's easy to talk about. It's much, much harder to do, and especially over years and years of time here. So that's pretty much what I've got.
Okay, well, wonderful. I mean, you did a great job of covering all that. I would like to echo much of that. And it at the end of the first year, we've seen a lot of positive impacts from this program that, as Chad said, began a number of years ago and was approved. That would have been the equivalent of this meeting 2 years ago, taking on an important issue of the deferred maintenance on our campuses and making that step to work our way towards towards that 2% in a phased approach. And I think we've seen the success. I agree with that. And I think that success has helped with the approach that our other colleagues of public policymakers, the governor staff, the legislature, all then helping with money with the capital initiatives, because we were able to demonstrate what's happening, how much money we've saved, and the careful approach that all of you are taking towards this. So we appreciate all that a great deal, and all the people that worked on this. I'm sure if I tried, I'd miss somebody. I just would say everybody that's worked on it, certainly the group that's here, but also all the folks that have helped with that, and then again the state agencies that have been involved as well. So there's lots more work to be done. This is one of those jobs that the work is never done, but we're certainly got a positive trajectory. So thanks to everybody.
Chair Ice, if I could just add one more acknowledgement.
Please.
I wanted to just say that the KBOR Data Research and Planning team, who is obviously supporting so many efforts that the board has also been instrumental in providing a new foundation for room by room level data for us. It's again in the weeds, but I just want to thank Cindy Ferrier and Marty Leisinger, Nathan Snyder, Cody Burton, Jesse Springer for all their work that they're setting us up for. There's just a great kind of set of best practices that they're lining things up for us. And I think that's really going to pay off in the long run. So thanks for all their efforts.
Well, thank you. And it's great to see, and thank you personally too. It's great to see the energy, enthusiasm towards this and that collaborative approach that everybody's taken. So thank you. Oh, Region Winter.
I can't help but ask this question since you're right here. What are you seeing, if anything, in regard to the trends in pricing and bidding? Is it still going up, stabilizing? Can you summarize what you're seeing out there?
Certainly, Regent Winter, high level trends. This time last year, we were seeing at risk of throwing a number out there, I'm going to, we were seeing 10, 11, 12% escalation. It was pretty volatile. By the end of the year, and as we moved into the season of updating our RS means construction cost data inflation, we were down from that. So I think we had a 7.5 overall inflation adjustment. So I think that's one way to illustrate, we're kind of leveling out there. I've heard mixed ideas about where we're heading. Everybody, I think, generally feels like things are calming down a little bit, but still very uncertain in many ways. I mean, supply chain is another facet of that, and that affects time, and time is money. So there's, I think people have started to assume that there's going to be some uncertainty, provide some contingencies in their planning processes to offset that, and do the best you can moving forward. But a ways to go, I think.
Thank you.
Thanks, Regent Winter. Regent Harrison Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to also express the gratitude to Director Bristow and all of the university staff that have been involved in this. As I reflect back on when we kind of started this process, and just all the work that you've put into place in terms of gathering the data for us and helping us put this together for advancement to the legislature. Just want to thank you and everyone who's been involved in this process.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Thanks again. That takes us to the standing agenda item of audits, which we don't have anything to talk about. So unless there's other business to come before the group, I guess I should ask, is there other business to come before the group? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.